Okay, share screen. This should be. All right. So first of all, good evening. Welcome to everybody. I know we have people in different places, so it's nice to see all of you. And I wanted to read to you today a Mishnah in Pirke Avot. It's a Mishnah in Pirke Avot. It's actually one of my favorite Mishnayot. It's in the 5th chapter of Pirke Avot. It's a fascinating Mishnah. We're not going to do the whole Mishnah. We'll do part of the Mishnah. So give me a moment here. So let me give you some background to the Mishnah. Okay. So if you look at the 6 days of creation, right, and there's an incredible abundance in the world. Hashem creates a world with a tremendous variety, and he does everything over the course of 6 days, whatever days means. We're not dealing with days. We're not dealing with days in the conventional sense, and it's certainly not 24-hour days. But put that on the side for now. But it's incredible how every day is so rich with an abundance of new creations. And then it stops. It all stops. The last day of creation is the 6th day, Yom HaShishi. And then on the 7th day, on Shabbat, nothing. And that's also a subject, that's a great subject for a class as well. What does it mean that on Shabbat Hashem did nothing? But there's that stark contrast. The stark contrast is between the first 6 days where there is an amazing variety of new creations, and suddenly it all stops. But here's the point. The Chachamim tell us that while Hashem finished the creation on the 6th day, and then on the 7th day nothing happened, there was an intermediate period, what's called in Hebrew Ben Hashemashot. Ben Hashemashot means twilight, the time period between sunset, and there's a machloket what Ben Hashemashot is, let's say about 15, 20 minutes after sunset, and then you have the stars, you have Set HaKochadim. So the Chachamim say that during the twilight between sunset on the 6th day of creation, Yom HaShishi, the end of Yom HaShishi, and the beginning of Shabbat, during that Ben Hashem Hashot, there were 10 things created. And I want to read to you the Mishnah, and I'm actually sharing the screen so you can all see it. Everybody see the screen? Okay? So I'm going to read it for you. All right? Asara devarim nibreu be'erev Shabbat ben Hashem Hashot. There were 10 things that were created erev Shabbat during the period of twilight. So it's Friday. Hashem finished creating Adam. Adam HaRishon is created, and the sun sets, and then during that time period, let's again 20 minutes around, Hashem creates the following 10 things. Ve'eluhen. Pi ha'ares. Pi ha'ares is the earth that swallows up Korach, right? So during the rebellion of Korach, the earth swallows him up. Ufiha be'er. Fiha be'er is the well of water, or perhaps it would be more proper to say the stream or the river of water that was following the Jewish people during the 40 years in the desert. And the Mishnah goes, Ufiha aton, the mouth of the aton, the donkey that Bilam was riding, and Vayiftach Hashem et piha aton, the donkey starts speaking. All these things were created Ben Hashem Hashot, meaning if you look at the first 6 days of creation, there was nothing in the laws of the world, in the scientific principles put into place during those 6 days that will explain either Piha Ares, Piha Be'er, Piha Aton. You can all agree that a talking donkey cannot be explained based upon the regular laws of science. Okay, and Piha Ares, Piha Be'er, well, there's a lot to say about that. The rainbow. Why is that on the list? Why is the rainbow on the list? But the rainbow that Noah saw, that rainbow made the list. The Haman, the man that followed the Jewish people for 40 years in the desert. The Hamateh, this is the Mateh of Moshe Rabbeinu. Some people say it's the Mateh of Aharon, that it has the flowers. Okay, not the subject for tonight's class. I'm just reading it. The Hashamir. Hashamir is a special tolat, a special caterpillar that was able to cut through the stones. And Shlomo HaMelech used this shamir to build the Bet HaMikdash, because to build the Bet HaMikdash, he wanted to use stones that no metal touched. So the shamir was created, Ben Hashem Ashov. And here is the subject of the class, the HaKetab. Ketab means writing, I guess. The HaMichtav. And Michtav also means writing. The Luchot. Luchot is the actual tablets on which the 10 Commandments were written. Those 10 things were created at twilight. And there's additional, the Mishnah continues, but it's not what I want to study tonight. This is, and this is really a fascinating Mishnah. As I said at the beginning of the class, it's one of my favorite Mishnayot, and from my perspective, it's one of the most fascinating Mishnayot in the entire Shisha Sidre Mishnah. And I love this Mishnah, and one day I'd love to study it with you all. But today I'm going to set a very humble goal. And that humble goal is as follows. I want to understand the meaning of 2 words. I want to understand the meaning of Ketav and Michtav. So I'm going to mark it here. You'll see. I think that's it. I want to understand. Whoa, do you still see it? Yeah, it's still there. That's what I want to understand. I want to understand what the Ketav is. I want to understand what the Michtav is. That is the humble goal for today's class. I don't think we need to share the screen anymore because it's just those 2 words. Let's begin. So these 2 words, there's many explanations about what these words mean. Usually, the word ketav is interpreted to mean the actual script, the actual shape of the letters. So you have the shape of the letters, you have the aleph, you have the bet, you have the gimel, right? So you have a ketav system, alphabets, the actual alphabetic symbols, or in English, you have the A, you have the B, you have the C, the actual letters. And the michtav represents writing. That's a standard explanation. So again, the standard explanation is ketav is the actual letters, michtav is the writing. Okay, what does that mean? Because what is the shape of the letters if not the written shape of the letters, right? So it seems like a tautology, doesn't it? I mean, you're saying that the ketav means the letters and the writing, and the michtav means the writing of the letters. And again, this is a standard explanation. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with it. I'm just showing you that there's an intellectual difficulty in understanding this because it does appear like a tautology, insofar as all the michtav is, if you're saying it's a writing, well, it's the ketav, it's the letters that you're writing. So what does this mean? So I would like to bring your attention to one of the great Chachamim from early Spain. His name was Rabbi Yehuda el-Barziloni. Rabbi Yehuda el-Barziloni, as his name implies, was from Barcelona. I speak about Chachmei Andalus quite a lot, as you know. And as you know, I discuss how the wisdom of the Talmud, the wisdom of the Gemara, went to the Geonim and from the Geonim it went to Andalus, to southern Spain. But and when I refer to Chachmei Andalus, of course I'm referring to the Chachamim from that part of Spain. But there were many Chachamim who were part of that system of thinking who weren't geographically located in Andalus. So Rabbi Yehuda Barziloni was not in Andalus. He was in the area of Spain known as Catalonia. And Catalonia is actually northern Spain, in Barcelona. But he was one of the Chachmei Andalus because his thinking and the people he quotes in his writings were from Chachmei Andalus. He quotes Shabuot HaNagid, he quotes Rib, he quotes Rabbeinu Hananel, and here he has an absolutely fantastic explanation. What is the word ketab and what is the word michtav? In this explanation, he brings it, he has, Rabbi Yehuda Barziloni has a commentary to Sefer Yesirah. So Sefer Yesirah is a book that some of the great Hachamim wrote a commentary to. One of the Hachamim that wrote a commentary to Sefer Yesirah is Rabbi Yehuda Barziloni. And Rabbi Yehuda Barziloni, in his commentary to Sefer Yesirah, he explains what the word ketav means and what the word michtav means. Okay, and here's what he says. He says that the word ketav refers to the particular letters as they are written down. For example, let me use the chat feature here, okay? So I'm gonna write in the chat feature, I'm going to write the following. This is the example he brings. I just wrote the letter Aleph, and then I just wrote the letter Resh, and then I just wrote the letter Sadi. These letters, as they are written down, that's a kitab. But then you need to have another system that teaches you how to put the letters together and to form a word. So in this case, if you put these letters together, the word you form is Eres. Eres, land, right? So the letters by themselves is the kitab. That's the alphabetic system, right? And every language has an alphabetic system, has an alphabet. But with the alphabet alone, all you can do with an alphabet is you can write the alphabet down. But and so you have a writer who writes the letters down, but then you need to have a reader who can put the letters together and create a word. In this case, Eres. So that's what Rabbi Yehuda Barziloni says. And what's interesting is, and the Mishnah considers this to be, it puts the Ketab and the Michtav system as one of the great miracles, right? We had Pi Ha'aton, for example, the mouth of the donkey speaking. So this is a miracle. The fact that humanity has an alphabetic system or alphabetic systems in the plural is itself, from the perspective of Hachamim, miraculous. And you know that, yeah, I'm sorry. And you know that.
Could you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry to bother you. Just, obviously, we can't be talking about the actual letters themselves as we know it, because those developed over time and those were invented and created by humankind. We know Ivrit today is Ashurit now. It wasn't the ancient Hebrew letters. So what are we talking about?
Right.
We're saying that the concept of letters or letters themselves, but not necessarily the shapes that we're seeing.
Right. So we know that the pasuk says, "Vayhi ha'adam leruach haya." He was alive. And if you look at the Targum Ankelos, it says leruach malela. He spoke. He knew how to speak. He had language. What distinguishes Adam from the other creations is that Adam was endowed with language, with speech. And yes, what this Mishnah is saying is that speech is not just something that came out of the thin, out of the blue air or out of the thin, but rather it's something that Hashem gave Adam. So in this case, you refer to Hebrew. You refer to the original Hebrew letters, which are different, of course, than the actual letters we have today, because the letters we have today are the Assyrian letters. But the Hachamim are teaching us that this alphabetic system was given to Adam. It wasn't just something that man happened to have invented. That's the letters. That's the letters. But what about the reading? What about the ability to decipher? And you know that let's just take English. Let's just take English. Do you know that in English, you actually have 44 different sounds that you produce? So when you speak English and when you speak for a long time, you have the ability to produce 44 different sounds. That's the maximum number of sounds in English, right? The English language has 26 letters, but there's 44 different sounds. And between these 44 different sounds, you can create an infinite number of ideas and concepts and words and sentences, right? 44 sounds. It all depends how you put them together and you create meaning. From the perspective of the Hachamim, that's a miracle. And I can tell you that I actually studied, I read an article not too long ago in Scientific American, maybe I can find it, I think it was from 2017, and they still do not understand fully how the brain can take text, put it together, and create words. We take it for granted because we do it all the time, and it just seems so it just seems so natural for us. But from the perspective of science, it's really quite complex, and to a certain extent, it's mysterious. In fact, the brain has to, when a person reads, and in order to decode a word, it's actually 3 different parts of the brain that have to be activated in order to read. Like, just give you an example. Let me write something here in English, just to give you an example. Here, I'm writing this in the chat, right? So I just wrote the word 3 letters, C-A-T. The first thing your brain does is it identifies the letters. There's actually a process in the brain where it recognizes and identifies the letter. After it recognizes those letters, right, it begins to connect those letters to particular phonological memories in the brain. So you know that the sound C-A-T creates, the letters C-A-T create the sound cat. After the letters have been put together and the brain recognizes that sound, then there's a third process where we recognize the word and we associate it with a small furry animal that meows and that some people find annoying, other people find cute, whatever. It's a cat. So there's a lot of stuff happening in the brain, and we don't fully understand it scientifically. So from the perspective of Hachamim, yes, that's a miracle. Okay? Now,
from their perspective, is this a skill that's learned, or is it something that's innate, or is it a combination of both? Like, what are they trying to say about that?
So, first of all, of course, it's something that's learned, but that man has the ability to learn this is itself miraculous. It's an incredible thing in the human brain that the human brain has that particular faculty. There's a pasuk in Tehillim that actually discusses that very faculty. It says, "Mipi olelim beyonekim yisad ta'oz leman sorerecha lehashpit oyev umitnakem." And David HaMelech is looking at wonderment at the little children, and that Hashem put this special strength in the little children, right? Which is so wondrous. And that special strength of the little children have is that a child at a very young age, his brain, the brain of this child, becomes professional in the syntax of the language that the child is speaking. So much so that an adult who can be very, very, very intelligent and even brilliant can't have the knowledge of syntax that a young child would have in that language, unless the adult was also learned the language at a young age. So, for example, I never spoke German in my life. If I had to speak German now, a German child will be far, far better at speaking German than I am. Why? We're adults, we're smart. Why can't we learn what a child can learn? We can't. It's a miracle that happens in the brain of a child. Go figure that out. And that's what the Chachamim is saying. So,
Thank you.
Yes.
But here you're speaking more about the actual writing more than the speech, right?
Well, okay.
It's the same thing.
So I
think he's saying they're like codependent.
Right. So you have the Ketav, right? So the Ketav is a visual system, call it the alphabet, right? Well, let's review what we just studied, okay? And that'll answer your question, Albert, right? So you have the Ketav. The Ketav is a visual system of letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's the alphabet. That's a visual system of letters. You recognize each letter. Each letter stands for a phonetic sign. It stands for a particular sound. That's the Ketav system. And it can be written, right? Or it can be visual, but to have the visual letters, it's something you're looking at. So yes, it's a writing, okay? But then you have the Michtav system. And the Michtav system is the ability to synthesize the letters and create phonetic blocks. We call these phonetic blocks words. And then we take the words, we connect them into sentences. Let me give you an example that's really simple, and I use it a lot because it's a great example to understand this. So across the street from my house, there's this house that's all white, right? So I say, I'm going to my friend's white house because, he painted his house white. It's all white. Everybody sees it. So I'm going to my friend's white house. Or I can say, I'm going to the White House. Now, your brain automatically understands the White House is the house where the president lives. A White House is just a house that's white. It's a very subtle and almost indiscernible difference in the sentence, and yet the brain immediately knows how to recognize these types of differences, right? So that's the Michtav. The Michtav is put the letters together, create phonetic blocks, synthesize the words, create meaningful sentences. That's what we got up to now. That's a summary of everything we did until now. Now, I want to talk about Hebrew, because Hebrew is even more amazing. Everything I said now applies to all the languages. I believe, I'm not an expert in languages, French, Indo-European languages, let's say French, Italian, Hebrew, Arabic, English, of course, and so on. Okay. But then there's Hebrew. Here's the amazing thing about Hebrew. Hebrew also has a Ketav system. It also has alphabets. But the alphabets in Hebrew consist only of consonants. There are no vowels in the Hebrew alphabet, right? So it's not like in the English alphabet where you have the letters C-A-T, which I showed you before on the chat, cat. The letter A is a vowel, right? Or if I write the word bee, the honeybee, a bee, the letter E is a vowel, and so on and so forth. I mean, there's infinite number of examples of vowels, letters act. In Hebrew, each one of the letters itself is a consonant, and in order to vocalize the consonant, you, the reader, must supply the vowels, right? So again, I'm going to write to you a root in Hebrew. And
I can't see the chat. Could anyone else not see the chat? No one else could see the chat.
Nobody can.
I think you have to. No, but we usually can. So maybe it's some setting.
You have it sort of locked just between you and us. It's not open to the public.
Okay, let me see this. Hold on. Let me see. Give me a moment to work on the technical aspects. Thank you for telling me that. Last time I gave a class, and the whole time I thought I was sharing a screen, and I wasn't. So I appreciate the fact that you said that.
So we thought it was a test because you were doing letters and we couldn't see the letters, so we were trying to figure out how that works.
Okay. All right. Let me see. Does that show up now? No?
Yep. Abba.
There you go. Look at the word Abba. The letter Aleph, the letter Bet are vocalized. If I didn't have the vowels that I supplied with, you just said Abba. You just
we can't write back. I'm sorry. We can only write back to you.
Oh.
No, there's a drop down arrow. You can click it. Just click to everyone. You can write back.
Drop down. It's not working.
I'm saying participants can chat with everyone.
Oh, now it's working.
Oh, yeah? Okay. All right.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Let me say beracha. I didn't say beracha yet. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nהיה b'dvaro.
Amen.
Okay, so let me look at the word Aleph Bet Aleph. You all knew how to read that as Abba. In order to read it as Abba, you have to supply the vowels, right? If I write the word dad, this word, well, I just said it, dad, you don't have to supply the vowels. It's right there. The A is the vowel. So one of the amazing things about Hebrew is that Hebrew alphabet, the Kitav, let's look at the Kitav system in Hebrew, only consists of consonants. There's no vowels. So what does that mean? That means that when a person, let's look at the Sefer Torah. Let's say a person that was reading the Sefer Torah because
It's dependent on a reader.
What the Sefer Torah is actually a series of unpronounceable consonants. So when the writer writes the Sefer Torah, he's writing the Kitav system, he's writing the letters, that's the Kitav, right? And the Michtav system is what the reader supplies for the reader to be able to synthesize these unpronounceable consonants, because a consonant is unpronounceable. If you don't have a vowel, the consonant can't be read. So it's the reader, as you said, it's the reader that supplies the vowels, and then you synthesize the letters, and you create these phonetic slabs called words. So you see how in
So Kitav is the consonants and Michtav is the vowels?
No, I didn't say that at all. Ketav are the letters in Hebrew. The letters written down, and there's only consonants. The reader is the one who synthesizes the letters and produces meaning. Yes, one of the things you do in Hebrew is supply vowels, but in addition, you have to put the words together, right? You have to make the words and synthesize them into sentences, right? So it's not just vowels. Hebrew is different than other languages in that in Hebrew, the reader has to supply the vowels in order to make these words. In other languages, the Michtav is much easier. The Michtav is almost like you already have the vowels, just read it. And again, I described before the scientific process that takes place in the brain and how there's 3 different parts of the brain and different functions. So I'm not saying it's simple, it's miraculous. But in Hebrew, it's even more miraculous. Okay, so now let's take one more look at the Mishnah. So what the Mishnah is saying is that at twilight, Ben Hashem Ashot, God bestowed upon Adam and Adam's descendants 2 separate and distinct faculties. And I want you to understand this. Just because you have a Ketav system doesn't mean you would have the Michtav system. Those are 2 separate intellectual faculties. It's like 2 interconnected miracles, like 2 miracles that kind of...
So, Chacham, did Adam know how to write?
So number one, Adam knew how to write, right?
Okay.
And
was that passed on?
Yes.
Okay.
And the Ketav system is the faculty. It's not just to know how to write, by the way. It's more than that. It's the faculty, the intellectual faculty to create symbols, to create shapes. We call these shapes letters, right? And when we say each letter will stand for a different phonetic sound, right?
It's called like a second order logic or something. When you have a symbol that represents something else, and like your brain has to take 2 steps to recognize a symbol and then think of what it stands for, right? Something like that.
Correct, but that's after the system already exists. What's amazing is, how did the system come into place? And what the Chachamim were saying, it didn't just come into place, right? Hashem gave Adam the car. Let's call this a car. The ability to have a brain, to even think about it is miraculous. You think, I'm going to create a system of letters where each letter will stand for another, one will be another ka, another ba, another. That itself is miraculous, right? Because that's just a system. Now that system is meaningless. What makes it miraculous is it's a meaningless system, unless you also have a michtav system, right? So
is it the capacity to make the letters?
Yes.
Or is it yes. Okay.
It's a capacity to make symbols where each symbol represents a different...
That have meaning.
No.
Vocalization.
Yes. Where each symbol stands for a
Okay.
different phonetic sound. That's the kitab.
I think it's called a phoneme or something like that.
Yes.
Tickling, yeah? Okay.
Correct. So each letter stands for a different phonetic sound. The C stands for K, right? The S stands for S, right? That's one system. That's the Ketav system, right? The Michtav system is a completely separate system. But you notice these two miraculous systems, they join together and they enable the transmission of meaning, right? So the Michtav system is the faculty to synthesize words out of these symbols, right? And in the case of Hebrew, to add vowels to the letters and then synthesize words and join the words to create meaning. And what I want to say is the absence of vowels in Hebrew is not haphazard. It's not just like, it just kind of happened like that. No, actually, it's intentional. And not only is it intentional, it's essential. How do I know this? Because a Sefer Torah that has vowels is pasul. Why? It's just easier to read. I mean, somebody put vowels in the Sefer Torah. Why should it be pasul?
Because then you're not as reliant on the reader, and the point of having it written is to have a reader. It also reminds me of the fact that you need Torah Shebichtav and Be'al Peh together. It's like you can't have one without the other.
Okay, well, I'll tell you something even more. So you have, let's say, the Christian New Testament. The vowels are supplied. The Muslim Quran, the vowels are supplied. Why the difference? And here's the difference. Because in those systems, the reader is passive. The role of the reader in those systems is marginal. And I would even say submissive. You're told, this is the text. Here it is. You just have to sort of remove the word from the page. In the Torah, in contrast, Mabdil ben Kodesh lechol, it's up to the reader to supply the vowels to the text, since without these vowels, the text is unreadable. The word, therefore, becomes the creation not only of the writer, which is Hashem, but it becomes the creation of the reader, which needs to supply those vowels, right? So you have the dynamic relationship between the Ketav, which comes from the writer, Hashem, the Michtav, which comes from the reader, and at that junction, you have meaning. Now, I want to summarize what we said, okay, and why this is so significant, because we know that Hashem gave Adam 6 mitzvot ben Noach. The 7th mitzvah ben Noach, which is Ever Minachai, that was given to Noach. Hashem gave Adam 6 mitzvot. Okay, so that means that Hashem was able to communicate a message to Adam. So think of this for a moment. Imagine now you have a thought, right? So you have a thought, something is bothering you. You want to deliver this thought. So you're going to deliver it in writing. You're going to write down a message and you're going to give the message to somebody. On the other side, there's a reader. And the reader is interested in reading the message that you have just delivered. Now, in between the writer who wishes to deliver a thought and the reader who wishes to receive a thought, there is a bridge. What is the bridge? The bridge is a Ketav and Michtav system. So without a Ketav and Michtav system, Hashem would not be able to communicate with Adam. For example, a monkey can never receive a message, an intelligent message from its creator. An elephant can never receive a message. What's the fundamental thing that allows us to receive information from God? And the answer is the Ketav and Michtav system. And it's precisely for that reason that not only does Hashem give Adam the Ketav and Michtav system, but he makes use of it. How does he make use of it? He tells Adam, right? He gives him a message. In order to give him a message, Adam has to have the Michtav system to decipher the message that God gave him. So with the Ketav and Michtav system, which are miraculous, with that comes the ability to communicate. And with the ability
Hold on. Sorry.
Yeah.
Rabbi.
Please,
no, because you just explained like the need for literacy, like synonymously with language. But I think there's a difference there, meaning you have Nebi'im who were able to receive transmission from God without Ketav or Michtav. It's language. That wasn't any ability to read or any letters. If they're in a meditation and they receive a nebuah,
right?
How is that Michtav?
So when Hashem speaks, right? When Hashem speaks, how does Hashem communicate messages to the Nevi'im? So it's not like... Say that again?
Mishalim v'chidot.
Right. Exactly. So mishalim.
Pictures, images,
okay. Now,
or sounds.
It's necessary for the Navi to transform the message he read. I'm sorry, it's necessary for the Navi to transform the allegory he received or the hidot that he received.
The input.
He needs to transform it into a linguistic message, right? So Yeshaya Navi says, Yeshaya Navi says, "Hashamayim kis'i ve'ha'aretz adom raglai, eze bayit asher tibnu li." So those messages, those words, weren't actually given to Yeshaya. Hashem gave Yeshaya the consonants.
Right.
What Hashem gave Yeshaya was unreadable. It was up to the Navi to process those consonants and to create the message. Hashamayim kis'i ve'ha'aretz hadom raglai eze bayit asher tibnu li ve'eze makom menuchati. Those words are a synthesis of the Ketav system, which is what Hashem speaks. Hashem speaks in the Ketav system, and the Navi synthesizes and has the Michtav, and out comes his understanding. He puts the words together, and he puts the meaning together. So it's not correct to say that you can be an illiterate. You can't be. You need to have linguistic skills. That's why, by the way, that's the essential Adam. You know, the Chachmei Kabbalah speak about the different madrigot. So the lowest madriga is the domem, the inanimate objects, like a stone or like soil. Higher than the domem is the second level is a plant, because vegetation, it has a dynamic existence.
Breathes.
It's growing, it's changing, right? That's the someach. Then above the someach is the behemah, because the behemah now can go out and can explore the world around it as behemoth do. So it's a higher level of existence. What differentiates man from the rest of the animals is not just intelligence. You know, I've seen scientific shows where they have something stuck in a bottle and there's like a nut there, and the chimpanzee figures out how to take the nut before the human being. So it's not intelligence. Bees can create these beehives. What is it? It's a hexagon, and they make a perfect hexagon. No, I don't know if there's human beings can make such a perfect hexagon. Maybe with machines we can, as the bee does. Termites, they create these huge mounds, which are air conditioning systems for their holes. If I tell anybody now in the class, me included, by the way, I want you to create a mound, which will be an air conditioning system for a pit under the mound. Does anybody here know how to do that? So it's not intelligence. There is intelligence in the world.
It's language, but it also sounds like it's perception.
Intelligence is a quantum leap, because through linguistic intelligence, you can learn how to make that termite mound. Through linguistic intelligence, I can teach you how to make that perfect hexagon. And I can teach you things you would never have thought about, right? They can't learn those things. A termite can never learn how to make a perfect hexagon, right? And that chimpanzee that can take the ball out of the thing will never make a termite mound, right? So linguistic intelligence is what enables us to increase our wisdom and to communicate with God. We can receive God's wisdom and we can express our feelings towards God. Is that clear now? Yes?
It is clear. I still think that there's the perception process, like of perceiving something that's coming in and interpreting it out, that I just have to accept is included in the michtav. Because I'm just thinking very literally of the word michtav as like physically writing, but you're expanding it. So that's just, I need a minute. But yes, I got you.
Okay. Let's talk, and I think what I'm about to say may further address your question. You know that in Ma'amad al-Sinai, we're coming closer to Shabuot. So, in Ma'amad al-Sinai, the pasuk says that Hashem was speaking with the Jewish people, and let me actually get the pasuk. I didn't share anything, so let me share a screen now. Give me a moment. I will open up the pasuk that I want to bring to your attention. Okay. Tanakh. I'm going to share the screen with you in share screen. Okay, give me a moment now just to find the pasuk. Okay, let's say. Give me a moment. Here we go. I think we're. No, wrong chapter. Let's say. Okay, this is the right chapter. No, next one. Pasuka, Perekav. Here, after the 10 Commandments, Hashem just spoke. He spoke the 10 Commandments to the Jewish people. And the pasuk says, V'chol ha'am ro'im et ha'kolot v'et ha'lapidim. I understand when it says the lapidim, they saw the fire. That I can understand. But it says they saw the sounds. They actually saw the sounds. And the Midrash says that they saw the letters written in black against the white parchment of the sky. So here we see that there's a connection between the speech of God and writing. The speech of God is the Ketav system, but it's necessary for the Navi, or in this case for Am Yisrael, because Am Yisrael in Har Sinai reached Nevuah, and therefore they all see it like you're looking at the words on a Sefer Torah. And they knew how to put the words together, and they put the words together, and out came Anochi Hashem Elohecha Asher Hoseticha Me'eretz Mitzrayim. And let me give you another example, just to show that this isn't a far-fetched example. There's a pasuk in the book of Devarim which says, it says, Rak Yishamer Lecha Ushmor Nafshecha Me'od. Let me find the pasuk. Give me a moment. Rak Yishamer Lecha Ushmor Nafshecha Me'od. Hold on one second. I'm going to just Google the word. Rak Yishamer Lecha. That's it. Okay. So it's Devarim, Perek Daled, Pasuk Tet. You see it now, right? I know that you all see the screen that I'm working on. It says, Rak Yishamer Lecha Mushmor nafshecha me'od. Pen tishkach et hadevarim. What does it say there? Pen tishkach et hadevarim. Asher ha'u einecha. Wow. What does that mean? You know what Rabbeinu Adia Gaon says in that pasuk? Don't forget what your eyes saw. You know that now Rasag is giving you the pesha. Rabbeinu Adia Gaon says, don't forget the words you saw. Right? So the words that Hashem speaks to us, that's the writing of Hashem. That's why we write it in the Sefer Torah, by the way. Why do we write the words that Hashem speaks to Moshe Rabbeinu in the Sefer Torah? Because that's Hashem's writing. Why do we write the words that Hashem spoke to the Navi in the Nevi'im? Because that's Hashem's writing. So that's the Ketav and the Michtav system. And perhaps I can end now with the following thought. And then I'll take questions if you still have them, because I see we do have a few minutes. One moment, please. Okay. Right. So Adam is called Hamdaber, right? That's what he's referred to as Hamdaber. And Ankelos says that the great faculty of Adam is the linguistic faculty. And with the linguistic faculty comes the ability to communicate. And just always think of this. Always think of a person. He has a thought in his mind. He transforms that thought into a phonetic slab called a word, or into a series of phonetic slabs called a sentence. When he's speaking those words, there's somebody on the other side who has an ear, who can hear, and who can synthesize those words and get the message. At the junction between the speaker and the listener, or the writer and the reader, we have meaning. And that's the significance of the Torah. The Torah, and there's a great story of Moshe Rabbeinu going up to Har Sinai, and he wants to take the Torah, and until now, the Torah is with the Malachim, and the Malachim are not willing to give up the Torah, and Moshe Rabbeinu is quite intimidated by the Malachim, and Hashem tells him, Echos b'kisei hakavod, and the story ends with Moshe Rabbeinu saying, the Torah says, Anochi Hashem Elohecha asher hoseticha me'eretz Mitzrayim. Did you leave Egypt? And Malachim say, well, no, we didn't leave Egypt. The Torah says, Kabed et avicha v'et imecha. Do you have parents? Well, Malachim say no, and so on. The Torah is a system of words that was given specifically to a nation that has a michtav system. Without the michtav system, it is impossible to deliver wisdom. It is impossible to communicate. So when the Mishnah is telling us that the Ketav and Michtav system was given to Adam HaRishon during Ben HaShemashot, that's what made Adam Hamdaber. That's what made him the most unique of the creations in the world, because Adam has all of the elements of the other creations, but he has something that no other creation has, and that's the Ketav and the Michtav system. That's what I wanted to teach today. We're a little early, so if you have questions, I will take them. Otherwise, we can try to look at the rest of the Mishnah. So, are there any she'elot?
No questions. Just this. The last piece that you just said.
Yes. Is
kind of connecting for me with that midrash about Moshe asking. I don't know why, I forgot why he goes up and he asks about the keten on the letters, and then they talk about Rabbi Akiva and how he's going to later expound on every keten on top of the otiyot. So it's sounding to me like it's in the merit of those otiyot that he was able to give whatever chokhmah he was able to give, meaning that the kitab allowed for that expounding and those drashot.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not just that. We see that the Torah, the interpretations are not automatic. This is like an important point. That maybe this is a good thing to discuss, because it really illustrates
hermeneutics.
Right. The derashot of the Chachamim. What gives the Chachamim the right to, for example, I brought you the derasha a few weeks ago. It says, Zachoret Yom HaShabbat Lekadesho. What gives the Chachamim the right to say, Zochreu al hayayin? Who says?
Or that one.
Right. Who says? It doesn't say wine, but they say yes, but there's another pasuk that says, Kitovim dodecha miyayin. Right? Right? Naskira dodecha miyayin. I'm sorry, naskira, in the same word, naskira. Or there's also another pasuk, that was in Shirashim, in Hosea, Zichro ke'en Lebanon. So the Chachamim have the right to do these derashot. They're given the right. The Torah gives them the right to do these derashot and to interpret the words, precisely because without a reader, the text can convey meaning. The text can only convey meaning when there's a reader who has a michtav system, and the michtav system implies the right to interpret the text. So that's why the Chachamim, they make the derashot, and the derashot that the Chachamim make have oftentimes have the status
based
of
on the words.
For example,
and they're also often based on the words, a hekesh, an asmachta, or I don't know, gezerah shava, meaning a lot of times they're connected to the text.
Yes. So, for example, we make kiddushin when we marry a woman. We make kiddushin bekesef. Who says we can make kiddushin bekesef? The Torah is kiddushin b'ishtar or bebi'ah. Who says bekesef? The Chachamim say it, and what the Chachamim say becomes the interpretation of the Torah. They make a derasha ki yikach isha, and they say the kiddush, the en kicha ela bekesef, and that becomes the correct interpretation. Who gives them the right to do that? Because the Torah was given to a alphabetic public, and part of being alphabetic is you have to learn how to read and to interpret. So it's not like in the Muslim or in the Christian text where basically you're just removing the meaning from the page because it's vocalized. Here the words aren't vocalized. And precisely because of that, we have the right to interpret, and the interpretation is not always just peshat. The interpretation many times is not peshat. Or certainly not obvious in the text. It's a possibility, but it's one possibility out of several possibilities. And the derasha does that. Okay? So are there any other questions on this? Yes. Any other she'elot on this? So we do have another 7 minutes, and I don't like doing bitul Torah. I don't like doing bitul Torah. So let's go back to the let's go back to the Mishnah. So Pi Ha'aretz, what was so miraculous about Pi Ha'aretz? How's that a miracle? So Korach rebels against Moshe Rabbeinu, and the Pi Ha'aretz, the land swallows him. Well, why is that so miraculous? I mean, that's just a scientific thing. There's quicksand in the desert. Go today to the area of Yam HaMelach, there's quicksand. So first of all, I have to say, I'm mystified that the Chachamim put this in, but I will give you my understanding of this Mishnah. Generally speaking, in the world, good night, Julie, my little girl. Generally speaking, in the world, in nature, the way things work is the aggressive, powerful animal subdues the weak, humble animal. That's just the way it is. If you're strong, you're a lion, you're going to go ferociously, and you're going to get that little gazelle. That's the way the world works. It just does. We may not like it, but it's just a fact. What's amazing about the story of Korah is Pi Ha'aretz. Moshe Rabbeinu was the most humble person. He was not interested in power. He didn't even want the power. He didn't want to be king. He didn't want to be Kohen Gadol. He wasn't Kohen Gadol. He eventually gave it to Aaron. He didn't want any of that. And Korach was like, I want power. Give it to me. Who wins in those situations? You know, who's going to become the next president? I don't want to make any prediction. Who's going to become president? A person who says, well, gee, I really don't know if I I can do this. I don't think I'm fit for that. Or the person says, I want to be president, and he goes out and he does what he needs to do, and he gets people around him, and they're all supporting him and cheering him, just like Korach did. He had the whole Aidah behind him. Everybody was cheering Korach. And who ended up winning? Moshe. Pi ha'ares. That doesn't make sense in the law of nature. The fact is, the man who wanted to go up ended up going down, 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 all the way to the lowest level. That's what happened to Korach. So that's a miracle. So you see how Pi ha'ares is actually a very miraculous event. Okay, Pi ha'ares. Let's do the next one. Pi ha'be'er. Pi ha'be'er is the river of water that was following the Jewish people in the desert. I would tell you that when the Jewish people went into the desert, and Rambam discusses this, he discusses Perashat Masa'eh. And the question is, and I think Rabbi Shaul Levi Mortera in Givat Shaul, one of the great Chachamim, a chief rabbi of Amsterdam, he was the one who actually put Spinoza into Harim. So I think he also brings this. Okay, anyway, so what he says is, why does Perashat Masa'eh give us, all the destinations, all the specific spots they stopped in the desert? And what he says is, because in the desert you have Bedouins. That's not uncommon. And the Bedouins will always be going in a place where there is water, where there's an oasis, where there is grazing grounds for their goat and their sheep. They don't go into the middle of the desert where there's nothing. That they won't do, right? So what the Perashat Masa'eh teaches us is that the places that the Jewish people went were places where there was nothing. Eres asher lo adar ba'ish, says the Nabi, I think Yirmiyah, that the places where the Jewish people went were places where no one ever went before because there was no way to survive there. Even the Bedouins would not go there, right? So what does Pi ha'be'er mean? Pi ha'be'er means that wherever the Jewish people went, and even places where there was no water because there were no Bedouins there, and if there was water, Bedouins would be going there. That would be a place of this. The water followed the Jewish people. It's usually the people who follow the water. But here, no, it was the water that followed the Jewish people. So you always see these movies, people going down river, follow the river, right? And then you get to the ocean or to, hopefully you get to a town because there's always towns by rivers, right? This was the miracle. The miracle here is that it was reversed. That's Pi ha'be'er, okay? We have another 2 minutes. Okay. Pi ha'aton. What's the miracle with Pi ha'aton? I'll give you the 2 levels in the 1 minute that we have left. Well, it's really crazy that the aton can speak, right? Isn't it? I mean, that's like, wow. Or perhaps it's crazier that a goy like Bil'am can hear the voice of God speaking to him in a dream. Which do you think is crazier? Pi ha'aton, a talking donkey, or an Oved Avodah Zarah like Bil'am hearing the voice of God in the dream speaking to him? You see the relationship? Well, the point of Pi ha'aton is that while we have a Ketav and Bichtav system, and that was given to Adam, Hashem can make the Aton speak, and he can make, Bichtav speak words, and he can make Bil'am hear his voice when necessary. So Hashem is not somehow limited by the world he created. Okay, that's the miracle of Pi ha'aton, and I think we're right now.
Nice.
Okay.
Beautiful.
All right. So we have to think of a new topic for next week. I know we've been doing Pirke Avot. I think I might switch to the book of Shemuel. I haven't decided yet, but stay tuned and hopefully. Oh, you want the book of Shemuel?
One vote for the book of Shemuel. Nevi'im is so hard for me, and I would love an opportunity to learn it.
Okay. So Belina, I'll try to think about.
Baruch, Rabbi.
So I'm glad you all were here. Always a pleasure.
Baruch, Rabbi.
I see we have Maor you're from Eretz Yisrael, right?
Yes.
Wow. Go to sleep. It's late, man.
No,
Yeah, wow.
I live in New Jersey right now.
Oh, you're in New Jersey. Okay, got it. Okay, better. Okay, have a lovely
Thank you,
holiday.
Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
About study Torah. It's a great opportunity to study Torah. Nothing more beautiful for the neshama and for our happiness than studying Torah. So do it. Go for it.
You mean in general, or you mean over the Hag? What made you?
Over the Hag and then in general.
Of course.